be dramatic and emotional where the story hits. Lies, Betrayal, and Payback, my story. The gavel cracked like a gunshot in the silent courtroom. The court finds the defendant guilty on all counts of fraud and embezzlement. My brother, Weston, stared at me from across the room. His expensive suit couldn't hide the tremor in his hands. As they led him away in handcuffs, he mouthed a single word: "Why?" I met his gaze without flinching. There was no triumph in this moment, only the cold satisfaction of justice finally being served. The reporters swarmed, their cameras flashing, but all I could see was the broken man who'd once been my hero. You're probably wondering how it got this far, how two brothers who built everything together ended up here, how I, Clayton Shaw, had to destroy my own brother to save the company we founded. But that wasn't where it started. To understand why family can turn into enemies, we have to rewind to when we were just two kids with big dreams. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and drop where you're watching from, because what comes next, you won't believe how justice turned the tables. Growing up, Weston wasn't just my brother, he was my best friend. We were the Shaw brothers, 2 years apart, sharing a bedroom in our parents' modest suburban home. I was the quiet one, Clayton, who loved numbers and complex patterns. Weston was the charismatic one who could talk anyone into anything. "Our company will be called Shaw Innovations," Weston declared when we were teenagers, drawing logos in the margins of his notebook. "You'll handle the numbers, I'll handle the people. We'll be unstoppable." Mom always said we complemented each other perfectly. She'd say, "Weston's the spark, Clayton's the engine. Together, you can do anything." We started small during college, fixing computers, building basic websites for local businesses. I handled the technical work and the accounting, while Weston charmed clients. By the time we were 25, Shaw Innovations had grown into a respectable tech firm with 15 employees. We bought a small office building. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. The night we got the keys, Weston threw an arm around my shoulders. "Partners forever, little brother. 50-50, just like we promised." He always said trust was more valuable than money. I didn't realize he was already learning how to break both. We both invested every spare dollar back into the company. I took a modest salary, happy to watch the business grow. Weston, however, started changing. The success fed his ego. He bought a flashy, expensive car. He started flying first class to client meetings that didn't require it. He was performing the role of a tech millionaire before we actually were one. I attributed it to his natural flair. I was wrong. A massive contract lands. This success will either solidify their bond or expose the fracture. The first major crack in our foundation appeared during our 3rd year in business. We'd landed our biggest client yet, a mid-size manufacturing company needing a complete software overhaul. The contract was worth $250,000, the kind of project that would officially make us a serious firm. I worked 80-hour weeks, coding through nights, solving problems that seemed impossible. I poured my technical soul into that software. Weston handled the client meetings, the presentations, the schmoozing. By the time we delivered the finished product 3 months later, the client was thrilled. The payment hit our account, $250,000, more money than I'd ever seen. I immediately started planning how to invest it back into expanding our server infrastructure and hiring 2 more developers. But Weston had other plans. A week after the payment cleared, I was reviewing the books, excited about our expansion, when I noticed something odd. The client payment was there, but so was a second transfer out of our business account, $50,000 to an LLC I didn't recognize. Must be a new vendor Weston set up, I thought initially, trying to dismiss the knot forming in my stomach. I even rationalized it. Maybe it was a major marketing push he hadn't told me about. But when I asked him about it the next morning, he got defensive, irritated, completely unlike his usual charming self. "It's for marketing, Clay," he snapped, not meeting my eyes. "Specialized consulting. Don't worry about it. I handle the strategy." His tone felt wrong. It was the tone of a secret, not a strategy. That night, I dug deeper. The LLC, Summit Consulting, had been formed 2 months earlier. The registered agent wasn't a marketing firm. It was Weston's best friend from college, Alex, who sold real estate, not market intelligence. And there were 3 other similar transfers over the past year, totaling another $70,000, all routed through fake consulting firms. The discovery hit me like a physical blow. I sat in my office until sunrise, watching the numbers swim before my eyes. My own brother, my partner, my hero, was systematically stealing from our company. From me. The betrayal was absolute. I knew then that my options were simple. Either confront him immediately and watch him lie, deny, and likely dissolve the company, or be methodical. That was the night I stopped trusting and started planning. I became a ghost in my own company. While Weston played the successful entrepreneur, buying expensive cars and taking luxury vacations, I began quietly building my case. I worked meticulously, isolating myself in the company's accounting infrastructure. I created encrypted, off-site backups of all our financial records, cross-referencing every suspicious invoice with actual project costs. And I also installed sophisticated monitoring software on our servers, not to catch Weston directly, but to log every time he accessed the accounting system, every file he modified, and every password he used. This was to protect myself in case he tried to blame the missing funds on a technical oversight, or worse, frame me, the person in charge of the books.
"Big day, little brother. We're set for life." I didn't smile back. "I've been reviewing the ownership documents, Weston." His smile tightened. "Now's not the time, Clay. The lawyers have everything handled." "When did you decide our 50-50 partnership became 70-30? I asked quietly. The room went still. Weston's face went through a rapid series of emotions: surprise, anger, then cold calculation. "There were additional contributions on my part," he said, smoothly, attempting his old charm. "Investments I made using personal funds. We can discuss this later." "I have the records of those investments," I said, pulling out the massive folder of evidence. "The $50,000 to Summit Consulting, the $35,000 to Peak Advisors, the $20,000 to Crest Management, all shell LLCs you control." His confidence cracked. "You've been spying on me?" "No," I said, my voice calm despite the pounding in my chest. "I've been doing what I always do, watching the numbers. And the numbers tell a fascinating story about how you've been stealing from our company and manipulating our partnership agreement for over a year." Clayton unveils the final weapon. How will Weston react to the total loss of control? I didn't wait for his answer. Adrian stepped forward and served him with the court order, an injunction halting the sale, and a warrant for the forensic audit. "Weston Shaw. Mr. Shaw has filed an injunction alleging systematic fraud and embezzlement. The acquisition is halted, and all company assets are frozen pending investigation." Weston exploded. He didn't yell about the fraud. He yelled about the sale. "You ruined it! You cost us everything!" "No," I said, looking him in the eye. "You cost us everything the moment you decided your greed was worth more than our brotherhood." The acquisition fell through. The board demanded an audit, and the audit revealed everything: the fake vendors, the forged documents, the systematic embezzlement. Within weeks, state and federal authorities moved forward with criminal charges. The trial was brief. The evidence was overwhelming. I testified against my own brother, my voice steady, as I explained how he'd betrayed not just me, but every employee who'd trusted us. I was sitting in that courtroom when the gavel cracked. Watching him be led away, I felt no joy, only a profound sadness for the brother I'd lost years before the handcuffs ever touched his wrists. The aftermath was brutal for him. Weston lost the company, his wife left him, his friends disappeared, and the fancy cars got repossessed. He lost everything because he valued money more than legacy. I stayed. I rebuilt Shaw Innovations after Weston went to prison. It's smaller now, more careful. The employees who stayed loyal received ownership shares. We renamed it Legacy Tech. We're doing honest work for fair pay. The hardest reconciliation was with Mom. She refused to speak to me for months. "How could you do this to your own brother?" she demanded. "Mom," I finally told her, holding up the money clip, "the brother I turned in stopped being my brother the moment he decided his greed was worth more than our promise. He didn't just steal money, he destroyed the foundation Dad and you built us on." She cried, heartbroken. But eventually she understood. People ask me if I regret turning in my own brother. I tell them, revenge doesn't fix pain. It quantifies the damage and restores integrity. I fought back because I realized that the only thing worse than being betrayed is letting the betrayer win. I had to destroy the lie to save the dream. I'm Clayton Shaw. My brother's betrayal taught me that trust must be constantly earned, even in family. He thought he was unstoppable, but he underestimated the quiet brother who watched the numbers. What would you have done? Would you have protected your brother or chosen justice? Comment below. I read every one. Justice always finds its way. I'm Zach, and this was another true tale of revenge.